Synopsis of the Books of the Bible. Romans. By JND Darby. New Testament. Romans. Chapters 14 to 15 verse 7. Conscientious weakness of others as to days and meats, being conscientious ourselves. Three directions given in this respect. From the beginning of Romans 14 to the end of Romans 15 verse 7 another point is taken up, to which the different positions of the Jew and Gentile gave rise. It was difficult for a Jew to rid himself of the sense of difference between days and between meats. A Gentile, having abandoned his whole religious system as idolatrous, held to nothing. Human nature is liable in this respect to sin on both sides, a want of conscience, an unbridled will, and a ceremonial conscience. Christianity recognizes neither of these things. It delivers from the question of days and meats by making us heavenly with Christ. But it teaches us to bear with conscientious weakness and to be conscientious ourselves. Conscience cannot, has not a right to, prescribe a new thing to us as a duty, but it may, through ignorance, hold to a traditional thing as obligatory. In reality, we have entire liberty, but we ought to bear with weakness of faith in another and not put a stumbling block in his way. The Apostle gives three directions in this respect. First, to receive the weak, but not for the discussion of questions that have to be settled. Second, not to judge our brother, since he is Christ's servant, not ours, and every one must give account of himself to God. Third, to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves, to walk in the spirit of love, and, if we are in a higher state, to show it by receiving one another, as Christ has received us, to the glory of God, which eclipses man and his petty superiorities, and which kindles charity and makes it ardent, earnest in seeking the good of others, taking us so out of self, and beyond little things, that we are able to adapt ourselves to others, where the will of God and his glory are not in question. Individual responsibility to the Lord in regard to ourselves and our brethren. Many important principles are brought forward in these exhortations. Every one shall give account of himself to God. Every one, in these cases, should be fully persuaded in his own mind, and should not judge another. If anyone has faith that delivers him from traditional observances, and he sees them to be absolutely nothing, as indeed they are, let him have his faith for God, and not cause his brother to stumble. No one lives to himself, and no one dies to himself. We are the Lord's. The weak then regard the day for the Lord's sake, the others do not regard it because of the Lord. This is the reason therefore for not judging. He whom I judge is the Lord's. Therefore also I should seek to please my brother for his edification. He is the Lord's, and I should receive him, as I have been received, to share in the glory of God which has been conferred on him. We serve Christ in these things by thinking of the good of our brother. As to the energy of a man's faith, let him have it between himself and God. Love is the ruler for the use of his liberty if it is liberty and not the bondage of disregarding. For the converse of this principle, when these observances are used to destroy liberty in Christ, see Galatians 4, where the Apostle shows that, if the observance is taught as a principle, it is really turning back to paganism.